What is a go-to joke you know nobody's heard before? I know several jokes in sign language. I guarantee nobody has ever heard them. I think there's something wrong with the cactus I'm growing, but I can't put my finger on it. My wife said she wants to, experiment more in the bedroom. But it looks like I'm in the control group. What do you call a little boy who's half French and half Scottish? A wee lad. This is the only joke I know. A classic dumb blonde joke. A blonde is sitting in a shoe store surrounded by at least 50 boxes of shoes. She says to the shoe salesman, "None of these are good enough. Do you have some alligator shoes?" The exasperated salesman replies with some venom, "Lady, if you want alligator shoes, go get an alligator." Salesman driving home sees the blonde on the bank of the river. She is wrestling an alligator. An epic battle. At last, she throws the dead alligator on top of a pile of alligators next to her. While the salesman looks on in amazement, she says, "Damn, another one without shoes." A priest decides to take a walk to the pier near his church. He looks around and finally stops to watch a fisherman load his boat. The fisherman notices, and asks the priest if he would like to join him for a couple of hours. The priest agrees. The fisherman asks if the priest has ever fished before, to which the priest says no. He baits the hook for him and says, "Give it a shot, father." After a few minutes, the priest hooks a big fish and struggles to get it in the boat. The fisherman says, "Whoa, what a big son of a bitch." The priest says, "Please sir, can you mind your language?" The fisherman responds, thinking quickly, "I'm sorry father, but that's what this fish is called, a son of a bitch." "Oh, I'm sorry," replied the priest, "I didn't know." After the trip, the priest brings the fish to the church and spots the bishop. "Eminence, look at this big son of a bitch." "Please, father," said the bishop, "mind your language. This is a house of God." "No, you don't understand," said the priest. "That's what this fish is called. And I caught it. I caught this son of a bitch." Said the bishop. "I could clean this son of a bitch and we could have it for dinner." So the bishop takes the fish and cleans it, and brings it to Mother Superior at the convent. "Mother Superior, could you cook this son of a bitch for dinner tonight?" "My lord, what language?" said the Mother Superior. "No, sister," said the bishop. "That's what the fish is called, a son of a bitch. Father caught it. I cleaned it. And we'd like you to cook it." Replied Mother Superior. "Yes, I'll cook that son of a bitch tonight." Well, it turns out that evening, the Pope decides to stop by for a surprise dinner with the three of them. They eat the fish and it turns out to be absolutely delicious. The Pope asks where they got it. "I caught the son of a bitch," said the priest. "And I cleaned the son of a bitch," said the bishop. "And I cooked the son of a bitch," said the Mother Superior. The Pope stares at them for a minute with a steely gaze, but then takes off his hat, puts his feet up on the table, and says, "You know what? You fuckers are all right." On Sunday I stuck my hand into a feather pillow and had a rummage around. I did the same on Monday and Tuesday. This morning I went to my psychotherapist and told him I've been feeling down for a few days. 3 altar boys line up for confession. First one goes in and says, "Bless me father, I've committed impure acts with a girl classmate." Priest asks, "Was it Bridget O'Flaherty?" Altar boy says, "I can't say father." Priest asks, "Was it Caroline Murphy?" The altar boy says, "Please don't ask father." Then the priest asks, "Was it Jennifer Smith?" And the altar boy says, "If I say who it is father, she could get a reputation." So the priest says, "While what you did was wrong and sinful, it is decent of you to withhold her name. For penance I want you to say 2 rosaries and you can't serve mass for a month." Leaving the confessional, one of the other altar boys asks him, "What did you get?" And he replied, "A month off and 3 good leads." This joke was in The Sopranos, but I loved it so much. A rich man and a poor man are both buying anniversary gifts for their girlfriends. "What are you getting your girlfriend?" asks the poor man. And the rich man says, "I'm getting her a diamond ring and a Mercedes." "Why both?" asks the poor man. And the rich man says, "That way if she doesn't like the ring she can still enjoy the Mercedes when she returns the ring." And then the rich man asks the poor man, "What are you getting your girlfriend?" And the poor man says, "I'm buying her a pair of slippers and a dildo. That way if she doesn't like the slippers she can go fuck herself." Old man sitting on a porch when he sees a young man walk by, dragging something behind him. Old man says, "What you got there?" And the young man replies, "Chicken wire." Old man asks, "What are you doing with chicken wire?" Young man replies, I'm going to catch me some chickens. The old man laughs and says, "You ain't catching no chickens with chicken wire." Sure enough, later that evening, the young man walks by with a mess of chickens all caught in the chicken wire. Next day, old man sitting on his porch when the young man comes walking by, dragging something behind him. Old man says, "What you got there?" And the young man replies, "Duct tape." Old man again asks, "What are you doing with duct tape?" Young man replies, "I'm going to catch me some ducks." The old man laughs and says, "You ain't catching no ducks with duct tape." Sure enough, later that evening, the young man walks back with a mess of ducks all wrapped up in the duct tape. Third day, old man sitting on his porch when the young man again comes walking by, dragging something behind him. Old man says, "What you got there?" And the young man replies, "Pussy willows." Old man says, "Wait up, let me get my hat." An elderly couple were in church during the Sunday morning sermon. All of a sudden the wife whispers to her husband, "I've just done a silent fart. What should I do?" The husband replies, "Turn up your hearing aids." How many bones are in a human hand? What's the difference between a rib-eye steak and a meteorite? One's pretty meaty, and the other's a little meatier. Two horses were fighting over a hay bale. It was the last straw. So the head of Purdue Chicken manages to secure a meeting with the Pope. After all the formalities, he gets down to business and says, "Purdue Chicken is prepared to donate $1 million to the Catholic Church if you change the Lord's Prayer from 'Give us this day our daily bread' to 'Give us this day our daily chicken.'" The Pope says, "Heavens no. That's the Lord's Prayer. It's been that way for thousands of years. We couldn't just go and change it." The Purdue Chicken guy says, "Okay, $10 million. Think of all the charity and good the church could do with $10 million. And all you have to do is switch to 'Give us this day our daily chicken.'" Single quote. Again, the Pope declines, saying, "I am a man of integrity. This is a sacred prayer. This is the Catholic Church for Christ's sake." The Purdue Chicken guy makes a quick call to his boss, gets off the phone, and makes the final offer to the Pope. "All right, $50 million. Single quote. Give us this day our daily chicken. $50 million. Just a small word change and you can do so much good in the world." The Pope says, "Well, at least let me deliberate on it before making a decision." A few days later, the Pope gathers all the bishops and cardinals for an important meeting because he has an announcement to make. The Pope says, "I have some good news and some bad news. The good news is, the Catholic Church has received a generous donation of $50 million. The bad news is that we lost the Wonderbread account." What do you call a child born out of incest? A gross domestic product. What's the difference between an oral thermometer and a rectal thermometer? The taste. How do you titillate an ocelot? You oscillate the tit a lot. What do you get when you cross human DNA with goat DNA? You get kicked the hell out of the petting zoo. I got it from Reddit before, so I don't know how common it is, but it makes me laugh every time. It's in basic Spanish. Hablo Inglés? Sí, como se dice, un zapato, en Inglés, a shoe. Salud. Gracias. This guy is feeling lonely and he decides to get an exotic pet. So he goes to the exotic pet store and looks around and suddenly he sees that there's a sale. Rare giant talking centipede, with house, $100. He decides he wants a talking centipede, and takes it home. The guy and the centipede spend several days chatting and drinking beer. And they become good friends. One day, the guy says to the centipede, "Hey, centipede, let's go out to a movie." "Okay, 1 second," the centipede says, and he disappears into his house. 5 minutes go by, 10 minutes, 15, 20. Finally half an hour later the guy goes, "Hey centipede, you ready?" No answer. He taps on the house. "Centipede." The centipede pokes his head out and says, "Hang on man, I'm putting my fucking shoes on." The orange juice complained to his therapist that no one wanted to drink him because he had too much pulp. He was so depressed that he wanted to throw himself from the highest refrigerated shelf. "Try to restrain yourself," said the therapist. So a man moves to a small village and goes to the pub to make some friends. As he walks in the door he hears someone shout out number 34. Everyone in the pub lets out a slight chuckle. He goes up to the bar and orders a beer. As the bartender is pouring it another patron yells, "Number 8. And everyone has a good laugh, confused. The man asks the bartender, "What's with people calling out numbers? Well, this is a small town and everyone grew up together. After hearing the same jokes all the time, we decided to just number them. Says the bartender. We hear the number, remember the joke and save some time. The new guy thinks about it for a second and yells, "Number 93. The room erupts into chaos. People are laughing so hard that they're doubled over. Everyone is wiping tears from their eyes and a few are having a hard time catching their breath. The man tells the barkeep, "Wow, number 93 must be pretty good." Once the barkeep is able to calm himself, he says, "We've never heard that one." Alternate ending. A guy in the corner stands up and calls out, "Number 17. Silence. The townsfolk just look down in discomfort. The new guy says to the bartender, "Wow, number 17 must be bad." Well, ya know. Some people can tell a joke and some just can't. I am Buzz Aldrin, the second man to step on the moon. Kneel before me.